Snowstorms, Arctic cold, bitter and dangerous temperatures. An unprecedented cold blast and series of storms gripped much of the contiguous United States, from the Central Plains in the Midwest to the north and southeast. This frigid plunge lasted well into January. Record snowfall, ice, and plummeting temperatures were recorded as far south as Miami, where iguanas reportedly fell out of trees. A bomb cyclone circled the northeast, dumping massive amounts of snow on the eastern seaboard and much of New England. Faced with record snowfall, hurricane-force winds, and flooding from ice jams, major cities ground to a halt. While much of North America was caught in a relentless polar vortex, parts of Alaska experienced record-breaking heat waves, with temperatures soaring to 55 degrees. It was said to be the warmest 10-day stretch in Juneau's history. Meteorologists say our weather events are unprecedented. Weather.com described the weather patterns as a relentless pipeline of Arctic air, fueled by one of the coldest two-week periods on record for late December through early January across the central and eastern United States. The problem? Weather events like these are not natural. They are calculated strikes to disrupt our environment and the natural Schumann resonance of the Earth. It is a continuation of radical and very dangerous weather patterns across the globe, caused by man-made weather modification. Deliberate manipulation of our weather is ongoing, despite attempts by officials to deny it. It threatens our lives, our homes, our families, our food supplies, our futures, and our very survival. It is calculated weather modification by our secret government and the Illuminati, motivated by control and mass destruction. With the potential threats these weather patterns pose, it can only be called weather warfare. Weather modification is nothing new. It has been an offensive strategic military tactic of many countries to disarm their opponents since World War II. Much of the official information is spotty. It has been reported that China, Russia, and the United States have experimented with it. The first scientifically controlled and monitored attempt at weather modification occurred in 1948, when Dr. Irving Langmuir experimented with cloud seeding. The United States engaged in weather warfare in the Vietnam War, under the auspices of the Air Weather Service, to increase rainfall and reduce troop advancements by seeding clouds over the Ho Chi Minh Trail. One of the biggest attempts to modify weather occurred in the 1970s, but it was not a military tactic. It was designed to help a starving population in the USSR. Soviet engineers created a weather machine to encourage rainfall to increase crop production in the steppe regions of Russia. Officials wanted the kind of yields like the U.S. enjoyed in the plain states of Kansas and Nebraska. To reverse the drought, Soviet scientists built 3 electromagnetic antennas with 40 million kilowatt transmitters to initiate rainstorms over the steppe lands. They used Nikola Tesla's scalar technology to generate the proper resonance or frequency in the upper atmosphere to move high and low pressure systems. The Soviets effectively created self-generating vortexes that modified weather patterns. It was very effective, but it also went terribly wrong. Transmitters associated with the towers created earthquakes and severe weather abnormalities across Europe and the rest of the world. Extensive damage occurred because the transmitters created standing waves that did not dissipate, even when the Soviets ceased operation. The standing waves became 3 uncontrolled solitons that moved across the Earth. They collided and created the worst earthquakes in recorded history. There was enough devastation that even former Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev was alarmed when he said, "What the scientists have in their briefcases is terrifying." Dr. Andrew McCrosky, an official from Canada's Secretary of State Department, officially described the events. Very large standing electromagnetic waves were formed, thousands of miles long, possibly 200 miles wide, and stretching up into the ionosphere. These were column-like waves, originating from below ground, and were caused by radio emissions from the Soviet Union. One of these waves was located off the west coast of North America, near Point Barrow, Alaska, This wave disturbed the natural weather in the United States and contained enough electrical agitation to deflect normal western trade winds. The results were disastrous. In 1977, the eastern United States and Canada endured an abnormally long, cold winter. Weather chaos occurred in Western Europe and China. Severe drought gripped much of California. All the while, the Soviets enjoyed very good weather. Prior to the hard winter, Soviet officials signed an agreement on May 18, 1977, with the U.S. and 29 other countries, promising never to attack each other by starting man-made storms, earthquakes, or tidal waves. The treaty came too late. A Pandora's box had been opened. It is not coincidence that current winter weather patterns mirror those of 40 years ago. The frigid weather that gripped most of the country in 2017 and early 2018 are the result of continued weather manipulation from energy patterns created by the Soviets. Temperatures and record snowfall are similar to that of the blizzards and Arctic conditions recorded in 1977 and 1978. A number of people in our Temple of Saqqara group suspect officials from our secret government and the Illuminati are trying to cause a mini ice age in the Great Lakes region, similar to what occurred in the 1970s. They are manipulating the waveforms the Soviets created. Our group has been keenly aware that malicious attempts to alter our weather never stopped, and have successfully counteracted them for many years. Scientist and inventor Kenneth Killick worked with the Undersecretary of Canada in a think tank to solve the weather problem created by the Soviet scalar vortex device that was similar to those used for HAARP near Point Barrow in Alaska. Killick devised a way to override the vortex line the Soviets created. Killick had instructed Mary Hardy and her husband Dean on the proper way to build a vortex-generating pyramid with an orgone covering in 1975, so their pyramid could become an orgone-generating device. It became an essential component in his plan to defeat the Soviet vortex line. With permission from the elders of the planet, Killick designed a tuned obelisk. A tuned obelisk creates either a positive or negative frequency, much like a tuning fork. Pyramids also act like tuning forks. Weather patterns pulse a positive or negative frequency, depending on their direction of rotation. Killick placed his obelisk in Sedona and tuned it to Mary Hardy's pyramid in Allegan, Michigan. The Sedona obelisk created a positive clockwise upshoot vortex of energy, which formed a line to the Hardy pyramid. The Hardy pyramid acted as a tune tank antenna connected to a vortex circuit with the Sedona obelisk. A tune tank works as a circuit that uses a capacitor and inductor in parallel. It is a resonant circuit which absorbs maximum power at the resonant frequency. This kind of harmonic gives it tremendous power to equalize abnormalities and disturbances on the Earth. The line created by Killick allowed Mary to use her pyramid in the Sedona obelisk to dissolve the Soviet vortex energy line in the summer of 1980. People who can see energy lines say malicious forces are currently trying to reactivate the Soviet energy line to shift snowstorms from Point Barrow, Alaska, so they dump onto the Great Lakes. They have a twofold intent: to cause severe winter weather in the Great Lakes and Atlantic regions and create drought conditions by reducing snowpack in the Central Rocky Mountain Range. Much like the pyramids of Egypt, Kenneth Killick's pyramid generates an orgone energy signature to protect all the waters and the atmosphere of the Earth by balancing and restoring life frequencies. It is a tune tank antenna that equalizes the field around it and revitalizes the frequency of orgone so the planet can live. The Great Pyramid acts as the control panel for all tune tank antennas that resonate on the Earth. Cathedrals are also tune tank antennas. Tune tank antennas are anything built out of love that are tuned to the Great Pyramid of Giza. When Mary's pyramid was built, it corrected the abnormalities created by the old North and South poles after the Earth cracked during a polar shift that destroyed Atlantis and created the Atlantic Ocean. Her pyramid has balanced out the Great Lakes Triangle, the Bermuda Triangle, and the elements within the Earth and its waters. Orgone energy and the Holy Grail Vortex prayer have enabled light workers to restore the Earth's life force and reverse malicious attempts to destroy it. she and the Temple of Saqqara have diverted and weakened man-made storm patterns like the 2017 Florida hurricane, protected against extremely low-frequency wavelengths generated by Sawyer Air Force Base, as well as electromagnetic frequencies from radio stations. Mary, the Temple of Saqqara, and the elders of the planet cannot do this without your help. The Temple of Saqqara has been told by the elders of the planet to regrid the Earth, to create a resonant frequency that will counteract negative frequencies and the electromagnetic fields which cause these disturbances. This requires a unified effort and collective consciousness by all people. We need to place orgone generators and medicine wheels where we live and farm. We can place orgonites over sacred places to create a broader field and increase the positive orgone energy needed for our planet. Through focused prayer and a connection to the Earth's grid, we can strengthen the positive energy needed to restore nature's equilibrium. This is our only hope to balance the frequency of the Earth's life force and destroy the power of devastating weather events, fires, and earthquakes. The Earth needs you. Help us heal the planet. Join us in stopping those who choose to destroy it. We can teach you everything you need to know.